What if I told you the worst climate disaster of the last 1,000 years didn't just bring famine, but led to the brutal execution of thousands of women? And what if I told you those killings were done in the name of stopping the weather? This isn't folklore, it's real history. A time when people believed witches could summon storms and governments used fire to fight the cold. Stick with me because this is one of the darkest, most twisted ways humanity has ever tried to control nature. We're going back to the 1300s through the 1600s. Europe was entering what scientists now call the Little Ice Age, a period of unusual cold that lasted for centuries. Winters got longer, crops failed, rivers froze solid, and nobody knew why. There were no satellites, no weather models, no climate science. Just cold, hunger, fear, and when people are afraid they look for someone to blame. So who got blamed? Witches. In the late 1500s, records shows a strange pattern. When hailstorms destroyed crops, or sudden snowstorms hit out of season, townsfolk didn't just say, "It's bad weather." They said, "It's her, the woman who lives on the edge of town." They believed witches were working with the devil to bring ruin through the skies. And here's where it gets disturbing. Local governments agreed, "I'm not joking." By 1580, some places had actual weather-based witch trials. Over 600 people were executed in just a few years. Not for murder, not for theft, for causing bad weather. Their evidence: she was seen collecting herbs. She whispered to herself. She looked at the sky. And during the worst winters, witch hunts spiked. How the colder it got, the hotter the fire burned. Isn't it terrifying? The church played a major role. Not just in blaming witches, but in creating the manual for how to find and kill them. Think of it as the medieval version of a how-to guide for interrogations, torture, and executions. It was called the Hammer of Witches, and it didn't stop with women. Men, children, even priests were accused. Because once fear starts, it doesn't discriminate. But let me ask you something. What happens when people burn others for the weather and it still doesn't get better? They just find more witches. Imagine being 9 years old and watching your mother dragged out of the house accused of making it snow in June. Imagine being told the devil lived in your heart because your crops died and your cow got sick. Sounds insane today, right? But here's the punch. Back then, this was climate policy. Before net zero or carbon credits, there were bonfires. And people thought they were saving the world. So what's the takeaway? Humans fear what they don't understand. And when fear meets power, history burns. The witch hunts weren't just religious hysteria. They were in a climate panic with a body count. And the scariest part, it didn't work, it never worked. But it felt like control, and sometimes, feeling in control is more important to people than being right. If this story gave you chills, imagine how many stories like this are buried under centuries of ash. Hit that like and subscribe button if you want more untold history.